Hey, hey, Ben Wheeler here. Now we're doing another nice little Sunday night broadcast. Gotta keep this thing going. Gotta keep this riding the tiger baby. For today, I'm going to talk about video games and videos I kind of want to start doing for the both the channel and for my own sort of sake. I'm going to talk a little bit about Vermintide and a few other things, Warhammer, and just whatever interests me. You know, it's one of those things. I'll just kind of meander about a bit. You know, you're here for the conversation, for the ride. You see, you know, I don't really I don't really have a voice like I should yet. But, there's always time to do things. Hmm. Anyway, so let's talk about video games. Videos first, I guess. So I am taking over a lot of things recently, and it's always kind of fun juggling different parts of what I like and what I need to do. Never fails when I need to do a video. And what I like and what I need to do. So, in my well, venerate the immortal emperor. Dang straight, Sigmar protects. Uh, if you, by the way, I think Vermintide's still on sale. Let me just check the store page because I have Steam up. I always have something up. I might start, streaming video games. But yeah, it's still on sale if you want to check it out. Selt can cook. Um, anyway, so I'm thinking of a few things I could do, and that one of them is streaming when I play video games, just to get some extra content. I've also got some ideas on um, like sort of article videos I could do. I've asked around to a couple people if they want to do videos or if they would give me their opinion on X or Y, and none of them have gotten back to me, which is fine. You know, it's like, hey, this is an opportunity for you to do something. Um, it doesn't affect me at all. I just work here. I'm paid the same. I'll just talk about soft sea salt. What do I look like, a Bostonian? Yeah, that's right. No, you don't. I don't know. Wait, Bostonian is mostly an Irish immigrant city. Therefore, it should be full of redheads. Therefore, by that sweet, sweet transitive property who takes such abuse that it would put that it would put a pornographer to shame. Uh, therefore, Boston is full of redheads. Um, yeah, I know it's Celt. Anyway, I'm also going to do some article videos where I write out a script and go through it. I've recently changed up my job. Previously, and it's a good change. Like right now, I'm running a tiny gym. It's a hole in the wall gym, but it's a corporate position, and you know, I'm not going to get fired from it unless I fail miserably. Um, yes. Uh, Ken Cook says, "Quote of the day." You're right. You're right. Um, so, which is nice. I'm not going to say what gem it is, but basically, I've made it, and it's only a different sort of upward climb than I was doing before. I need to max out what I'm doing here. I need to make sure it's clean, that we pass inspection, um, and eventually, I'll be promoted up, and I'll ask for raises. And if I get good cleanliness marks, I get a bonus. It's nice. It's nice. It's a different animal. I'm not gonna lie. I'm weirdly nervous about it. I shouldn't be nervous about it, but it's like one of those things. It's like that new phase jitters, and it's like now I'm working way different than I did before, and I need to make sure that everything. goes all right. However, I'm not worried in my conscious mind. Only that, and it throws like the stuff I was planning to do videos on and whatnot, sort of like in array because not in disarray. Because not only did I lose my camera to the person I was borrowing it from, uh, I have to, reschedule my life a bit. Um, but fortunately, it's one of those jobs that eventually, uh, once it's up to the standard I set for it, um, I'll have plenty of time to write, which is itself beautiful and worrisome. But I'm not too worried about that. It's just all the weird video stuff. But video wise, I'm planning on doing some article videos. The first one I'm going to call is "Burning Down the Village," which is going to be a play on the song "Burning Down the House." And it's going to talk about the sort of videos, sort of introductions you can do for the introductions that you can do if you want to burn down the hero's village and set them off on the quest early. The example I'm going to use is for a story that's called The Ice Queen. It's going to be about um, a group of heroes basically trying to free the prince of the land from the clutches of the evil Ice Queen. Of course, various characters will turn out to be evil and not evil, and actually, they are evil. But it's just, I'm not going to go over all of it, but it's just going to be one of those things where I just kind of break down how to do it in a superversive fashion, how to make sure, how do you kill off, their parents so that they don't have anywhere they can go to and they have to always move forward. I mean, you could even do something like, you could do something horrible. Like, this is obviously a world with different types of monsters and monster girls and stuff like that. What if one's like a redeemed fallen angel? She's stuck in human form or whatever, but she has kids, and one of the kids is like the healer of the group or whatever. She shows up, like that you just watched their parents die, who were once legendary heroes, before the orcs. She shows up and then brings them back to life, and so you can watch them die again. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, yes. And it's one of those things where it's like you can do it tortuously, you can do it gently, or they could just see the fires in the distance. I'll be going over examples and how various characters have done it over the years. Ah, oh, that's good though. Kelp King Cook says brings them back to life so you can watch them die again. That would be so sweet. That's the idea. And the best thing is that if it's done in the right light, it's not subversive. These are heroes doing what they do best. And then someone else does what she does best, and then they do their best, once again. But unfortunately, evil is one of those things that just keeps going. Like it is not superversive to deny evil or anything like that. Kelt Ken Cook says feels like a Game of Thrones twist. Admittedly, it's very sadistic. But it's one of those things. If you do it just right, it's not only this tragic thing. It's also incredibly heroic. These people would or have or whatever fought through hell, and they're going to fight through it again. Um, or they're gonna do their best to save their kids. Like it's one of those things where it's not what happens; it's the spirit of it. And of course, like this would be like what like the first book. You've introduced the characters, the main character, the best friend character, and the love interest for the main character, because the best friend character's love interest rarely shows up in the front. Um, and then it's like now they have to go on. What are they going to do? Well, they can't fight the guy who just killed their parents. I mean, you could, it isn't like a bad end of the first book final boss, but it's not quite, you know, there. King Cook says nothing wrong with sadism if you're on the right side of it. That's true. That's true. So So you work through the various things that you want out of a scene. What spirit do you want out of it? The first book defines the themes and desires and motivations for the entire series. Therefore, messing that up, not sticking the landing, not getting it how you want it, is going to hurt you very much. Um, Sometimes, when I'm like, I'm not as big a fantasy reader as I probably should be, but many times I read the first book and I said, no, thank you. Um, and I never touched the second. A lot of YA fiction is like that. And not even getting to the normal tropes of that person who's just, playing, but she's not. Um, Bloodline and incest and stuff like that. Like there's no reason to read the first book of a series. It's like, like I've never understood the argument of it gets better. No, all it does is start paying off the things that you waded through muck for. So it makes it feel better, but it's still garbage. And I'll be talking about that too. That in itself is another great video about the feeling of um, sort of series and why it gets better isn't as much of an argument. It gets better because it's rewarding you more. Not that I'm saying that you should be rewarded, from the first page, but it's like you got to hit it right. You got to make sure that people are reading it and continuing on. It's you can't just burn down the village. You got to make sure it's thematically appropriate. Um, And it's also one of those things where you could set up, like, let's say that your main villain is somebody everyone's going to have to defeat. Everyone is going to want to join together to smash him or her or whatever and, take him down. Well, that means that um, uh, that there has to be a character who is leading the charge to burn the village. Let's call him Gorgmorg, the orc general, or something like that. And that's an excellent, orcs, I'm not even talking like some sort of like, it's not orcs, but it's orcs, BS that I read in some guys' works like Aragon and I want to say the Wheel of Time, maybe. Maybe not Wheel of Time. I don't know. I've never really finished that series. The only thing I ever thought was vaguely interesting was the Aes Sedai witches with their nightly companions, which is a theme that has stuck with me for quite some time, actually. Interestingly enough, when I think about it. But otherwise, I don't remember a single thing about it. There's something about a gate. He had a hammer, and he cut his thumb on the hammer's edge that turned into an axe or something. I don't know. Um, Aragorn had Aragon had the orcs ally with him in book two. Ah, Urgles. There we go. Urgles. That's the name of them. I didn't want to have to reread it to find out their name or look on the TV tropes entry. Let's see, video. Right. And so I'm going to talk about these things in detail, probably too much detail. Like I intend the Necronomicon Aesthetica videos to really be like for writers and those who are interested in writing. Like this isn't clickbait. Uh, a clear sign that somebody woke read Tolkien. He was like 12. Christopher Paolini was like 12 when he started doing it. Quite frankly, I thought they were under mind control or something. I can't remember. Um, Aragon is too boring to take up too much of my time, even though the first book is pretty good. The movie was better than people give it credit for. Discredit. I mean, what was I thinking about? Right, and so these things are sort of like it's like if you go in there expecting he was an older and eldest. That's true. That's true. Expecting like normie clickbait. Like, here's how, you use top 10 tropes. I'm going to tell you how to use top 10 tropes, but the Necronomicon Aesthetica is explicitly for advanced you know, and people who read it, critics or whatever. It is to create a unified system of aesthetics in a digestible format for those who are not, you know, not unlearned, unlettered. Actually, I'm going to use the term unlettered because it's like I don't want to impugn anyone's intelligence here. It's just, for somebody who's doing it that isn't, as interested. And so, actually, this is a pretty good. This is a comment that brings up on it. So Aragon, I get. This is what Amos below me is saying. I give a pass because honestly, it was by the numbers, but at least it showed how the kid had a grasp of how fantasy stories work. Absolutely true. I will be going over how to paint by numbers, and as bad as that sounds, it sells, and it sells more than I'd like to admit. But oh no, I gotta keep it and gotta strength, strength. Um, it's a legitimate strategy. Uh, I think that people like, I know people love the familiar. People love something that they can expect. Like every romance story is more or less the same. There's a formula. I know I've read from somebody that like this one romance authoress has written like 144 um, romance novels of some kind, and each one's slightly different, but each one's the same. Um, and it's one of those things like painting by numbers is fine. Aragon had the dark and tortured older brother character, the hot elf chick love interest, the dragon who's pretty cool, the wise old mentor. Like there was nothing new under the sun in Aragon, but he hit it just right. Like another good example is J.J. Abrams with Episode 7, as Kelt King Cook says. Um, I'll talk about that in a second. Uh, where episode 7 didn't do anything special or new. Uh, it didn't do anything crazy. It was basically J.J. Abrams knew exactly what market he wanted to hit, and then it was like I don't know if you guys remember this, but Mark McGuire went before the whole steroids thing, which everyone knew about. Like it was only somebody decided to actually make it an issue, but so was the dude in the Cubs back when they were having their home run derby. Like everyone in the '90s through aughts was using steroids if you were in baseball. Except for those few, most of the big hitters, scratch a home run. There's a steroid user sometime in their lives. Uh, he used to hit baseballs just about um, in the same location quite often. And anytime he hit a baseball into that home run spot in the certain location, it was like the Big Mac terrace or something like that. Everyone would get a Big Mac for free, because that's Mark McGuire. That's the promotion they were doing for him. And it's like, that sort of works. Uh, that's why did I start talking about this? I forgot why I started to talk about this. I was talking about Star Wars, talked about episode 7. He did nothing surprising. There we go. He did what was expected. He knew he hit it as perfectly as Mark McGuire could do back in his prime. There we go. Knocked it out of the park. See that? I'm good with metaphors and things. So we continue on. We consider what we have and what we're doing, and you can do it. The thing is that sometimes you make mistakes doing that are not, say, a superficial problem. It's a foundational issue. The crowds that J.J. Abrams was playing for was not the core audience. The shocks and awe aren't something that holds up to scrutiny. Aragon is good. However, as the series goes on, there's fundamental problems that come out of the woodwork that don't hold up to scrutiny. Now, some people say here, Bar One Scorpio says, "Boy meets girl, girl's mind breaks. Her hips start moving on her own." And didn't help Aragon in the movie adaptation went off the rails, like the Star Wars for a Star Wars remake. Yeah. There's some scenes I still remember from the book. I think they got the dragon fight pretty good, actually. Um, but my standards for movies are kind of low because actors aren't smart people. I don't assume most directors are smart people. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're probably better than average, but actors are notoriously stupid. Um, mm, you know, can't do anything for it. Um, let's see here. Amon says, I think he took the criticisms of Aragon to heart and tried to be different. He broke too many rules of fantasy, so it just felt weird and wrong. All the wrong stuff was different. Um, let's see here. I would argue that Aragon was not good, quote unquote, but how can I fault somebody who engineered a hit camp by campaigning around the country with his parents? It was a first book, and you can't say he did anything wrong. Um, yeah. Kelcan Cook says actors aren't smart people. Sad but true. That's why I'm a god among ants. So the Christopher Paolini thing, I don't really know. I saw him in person once. Didn't talk to him. Uh, I had no interest in what he had to say. And I don't really like to get figure out what I like what other authors do, not what they say they do, because a lot of knowledge is innate, and a lot of advice is good and easily repeatable, but it's not really worth anything to me. I want to know how they acted in practice. That's where you learn things, but it requires having an analytical purpose to what you read and what you desire, and you have to take yourself out of it. You have to be able to say, I don't like X, you know. Well, that's not what it's about. Like, I don't like sex scenes in movies. However, the Blade Runner 2049 sex scene was amazing. It wasn't just titillation, while it was various characters resolving their character issues before tragic deaths, and all of that jazz, and setting up some things. Now, Blade Runner 2049 got real stupid at the end. Not the ending fight or anything like that. I'm talking about the weird chosen child BS thing, memories, something, something, something. Um, but like up till that point, it was absolutely fantastic. Um, or things like I generally don't like. What don't I like? Because I know more about what I like than what I don't like. I don't like um, really dry, non-action filled um, sort of stories. And I'm not like I don't like nonfiction, straight up. Not nonfiction. Like, I don't know how to call this. It's like what's that word? A parliament of idiots or something like that. It's a story about this guy who's this pathetic mama boy, something, something, something. Um, yeah, you can take a lot of my lines out of context, King Cox. Uh, like the dude killed himself, then his mother edited it and then published it. Um, Parliament of Morons. It's Parliament of something. I tried to read it because it was touted to me as the funniest book ever written. Um, or one of them anyway. And I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the characters. I couldn't stand the mother character or the son character or the side characters. I didn't even get past chapter like 3. Um, and, I didn't find it funny. It was a weird kind of cringy humor. It had no likable characters. And I think it's like one of those things where it's like, people read Infinite Jest. Is it good? Or Ulysses? Is it good? No. But it's there, and you can really sniff the farts if you actually can read it. And Kelvin Cook says, and Amos below me says, I don't normally like slice of life, but I'm digging Silver Spoon. Kelvin Cook says slice of life is a favorite, especially when someone dies. And that's actually kind of an interesting point. And that's something I could do a whole video on, actually. And I have done articles on death scenes. Um, with a slice of life show, you can really milk a death scene. Like it's like Little Nell from that one Charles Dickens show where she wouldn't die, but she needed to die. I'm gonna do videos on that. How to really get the most out of a little orphan death scene. Uh, Anthony says the best, funniest book ever written is called The Man Who Was Thursday. I still need to read that, honestly. But I don't like reading comedy as much. There's very few comedy I do enjoy. Arcadia Snips and the Steamwork Consortium, Girl Genius. It's usually tied to genre fiction rather than reality fiction, I guess I'll say. Yeah, that's just the sort of things I kind of want to talk about. Uh, Delvin Cook says how to milk a death for gain and profit. Dang straight. Uh, and it's there's a lot of things that people want to talk about that they aren't going in detail. Like I am familiar with a lot of different YouTubers. I watch their videos. I don't talk to them because they don't seem. I don't want to say they don't seem smart. Some of these people actually have books that sell, but it's like here's the top 10 tropes about this, and then she just talks about them, and she doesn't like show anything new. She doesn't bring anything out of it. There's no subtlety to it. um which is what I want. I don't want to be spoon-fed TV tropes. I can read TV tropes. I have read TV tropes. I discovered them back in high school days, where it's like, and I've been reading them ever since. Anytime I play a video game, I hit up the TV tropes. You know, Amos below me says, I'm a shameless plebe. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Calvin Cookie, a little literal worst. Anthony Amos, I even like book 5. Okay, I've never read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That was under the list of things that good Christians don't read, along with Harry Potter and other things. Aleister Crowley's biography and Sex Diary or something. I don't know. I assume they're both the same. Um, like there's no point in being told something you can read. But the problem is that I know people don't read anything like they used to. And it's kind of hard to just sort of let it alone, because it's like then they're doing stuff that provides clickbait and value to their people, and it's like I don't care about that. It's not about the value, it's about the value. If you set your value bar too low, then it's worthless for them to watch. It doesn't grow them. It's just familiar. Like there's no like it's not superversive to just leave somebody in the mud. But then that's where the people are, and people are normies. And it's like I'm gonna have to wrestle with that in myself. It's like, all right, Ben, people probably don't want these super crazy, in-depth, gothic, grotesque Necronomicon aesthetic articles. They probably don't. But eventually, I'll have written a full book's worth of Necronomicon Aesthetica articles. In fact, I'm going to check to see how much. Status. No, 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 no. Like I've got, I've got probably somewhere way above 30,000 words already in the Necronomicon Aesthetica. Well over. I'm just going to keep going. Just keep going with it until things improve. The what's the phrase? The beatings will continue until morale improves, and that's just something I'm gonna have to live my life by. Um, the only thing that annoys me is that I like using Scrivener, but sometimes it's a little bit slow and weird. Oh wow! So far, selection 40,000 words of the Necronomicon aesthetic has been written. Um, Somehow, Kelkin Cook says, somehow George Martin made Dragon's Eye Zombie serial rape and The War of the Roses into a TV series that normies would like eventually. What nerds like normies appropriate. You're right. But the thing is, I don't write enough salacious material to really get in there. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't be natural to me. Though probably I know as much as George R. R. Martin. um, it's like what's going to happen? It's like I could write a story where it's like set in a world war is going on, airships. They just got their big capital Death Star ship shot down. They need resources that they're trying to pull it from a research station that's building mechs. And it's like, what if the guy has a giant wife? And it's like a literal giant, like 100 foot tall, still in like human form and all that jazz, defying physics because nobody's here to see the ugly giant. Um, and it's like you could get into salacious details. It's like, well, how'd you wait? So you're doing research to figure out how humans and giants could breed? Yes, we're quite similar. Here's one of her eggs or something, and he's got it like in this tank, preserved and fed nutrients to keep it alive, mimicking uterine walls. And it's like, so how'd you get it? Well, first I put on a wetsuit and got my oxygen mask. And it's like, no, 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 we're good. I lit the candles, poured some wine. It's like you can do a whole lot. And there's all kinds of salacious material that is just waiting to be mined because, there's no point in rape. It's just shock value to normies. I am, of course, too jaded for that. Mere decadence and debauchery. I need sterner stuff. Uh, it's and that's something to talk about too. In general, my argument is to never really have sex scenes, or even like I don't even like romance. I don't even like writing romance. Like I've got it in the story I'm writing right now, cyber gothic, but it's not coming out right, and I'm gonna have to rewrite so much of it. And I'm actually having other people talk about it while like they're talking about the actions I'm showing, right? So it's show, don't tell, but they're talking about it, and I'm putting more meaning into their words than I am to their actions, and it's like, ugh. I put on the wetsuit and blew myself up. It's like, no, please don't talk about it. It's a genre, but it's just written pornography. Monster Girl stories. Nothing wholesome. Nothing worth reading. And that's such a shame. I have such things to show you. Anyway, that's sort of the videos I want to do. It's a mix. It's going to be like reviews. I'm still going to try and keep up with reading Rainbow Emperor. I need to start linking it in these live streams. Check out my channel, Reading Rainbow Emperor. But that's going to be more anime and reviews. This one's going to be more informative. I want Jason to come back and tell me the sort of things he looks for from new arrivals. Um, Kelkin Cook, nothing wholesome. Bite your tongue, good sir. Never, never. Uh, and with the garbage fire of Game of Thrones, if I wanted to clickbait, I should have just said Game of Thrones live stream. Would have done just enough of the same. Um, and it's there's a lot of things out there that people can read. That just needs to be written. Um, it just needs to be done. Like I do have. Uh, the first book is good. I just didn't want to read anymore once they killed Ned Stark. Like I've got a book called Monster Girl Doctor, and it's basically solving veterinarian problems for centaurs. It's some of the schlockiest dumb stuff, or it's like how to repair a golem or a zombie Frankenstein. Like there's all sorts of interesting things and some. I'm not going to say lewd, but the pictures are interesting. Um, let's see, what is this? Yeah, and there's always the classic, harpy laying an egg. There's a there's a lot going on. Um, the thing about Game of Thrones is that it has a spirit to it, and it's like the final boss. Vox Day was probably one of the few people next to John C. Wright, um, you know, Nick Cole, and a few others who could really go toe to toe with Martin in a literary field and do better. The problem is that um, Martin is good for normies and Vox Day is heady. It's like trying to drink your way through a brandy barrel. It's good. But it's not easy. Nick Cole's better. Uh, he's got more of a muse than Vox Day. Not that I'm disparaging Vox Day. Uh, the Throne of Bones is actually really good. It's one of the few fantasies that have been written in the modern era that I've actually read through and enjoyed. Um, Nick Cole could do it. John C. Wright can certainly do it. Uh, and it's like kind of like if like I have a saying sort of that I hold myself to. If Richard Dawkins suddenly shows up and demands that, I've heard you talking big stuff here, Christian. It's like, you know what? I'm out of here. This is boss fight material. Of course, that's assuming that I'm not moved to engage with him in some fashion. It's like, nope, I'm not going to fight the prince of, atheists, without preparation. Though then again, the Bible does say, don't worry about what you're supposed to say. It'll be given to you at the appropriate time. But the problem is that most people don't actually know what that means, and it's usually immediately followed by martyrdom. So, you know, oh yeah, and Summa Helvetica is often touted as the best fantasy philosophy ever perused, and I haven't read it, but I can certainly believe it because it's on the basis of whether elves have souls. I should actually read it while I'm reading Cyber Gothic, because I'm going to be basically rewriting that damn thing. So I might as well, get it down right. Um, Anthony says, "Can we please talk about how Mother's basic criteria for a classic is ludicrously broad?" No, no, we can do that next week if you're willing to be on with me. Um, no, that's Mr. Satan. Ah, never mind. Dawkins is that dude from Dragon Ball who thinks he's the strongest guy in the world, but strong people don't take him seriously. You're right, but it's in the sense of I'm just using Dawkins' name as as a placeholder for whoever the biggest, buffest, for somehow atheist is. like someone who actually has arguments and can, be a threat. Um, Basically, Mother's Basement, like he has some delusions of grandeur as to what makes a classic anime, but it essentially comes down to it's remembered. Um, and that's like, you know what? I'm not gonna knock that. I'm not gonna knock that. It is broad, but I'm not gonna knock that. Like he's basically saying it's a classic, so it's he's basically pointing at an anime and saying we remember it, therefore it's a classic, and it's like eh, that's not wrong. It's not like anyone remembers fighting food on or something um from the 90s. Fighting food on da 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 da. I never actually watched the show though. Continuing on, you know, if somebody shows up, like if the Pope shows up, comes out in his Pope mobile, kicks me in the groin, and says, you better defend your Protestantism, son. It's going to be like, I'm going to need a minute, and I'm going to need my balls to drop again. It's not going to be a fun time. That those sort of things have need preparation. You can't, like a lot of Catholics don't do anything new under the sun. They're not theologians, and they don't actively think about their um, belief systems other than their right. Protestants aren't, except in the case of Jesus and salvation. And I'm using it in a broad brush because Protestants are not alike and are not a unified church in any sort of way. Kelkin Cook says, I don't think the current Pope is nimble enough to kick you in the tallywhacker. Well, he can get one of those sensors, put really pack in the incense, get a good weight to it. Something like that. But it's not something that you can debate or fight with any without preparation. Because I assume that unless it's like clearly a heretic or something like that, you're not going to be given, or martyrdom isn't on the line. You're not going to be given the divine grace to say exactly what you need to say in the situation that calls for it. Or you could get one of the Swiss Guard to do it. Yeah, no, they'll impale me on one of my pikes because I'd prefer death than kiss the ring. Um, hmm, there's a whole bunch of horrible ways, that you can die. That I'd be like, you know what? For the, I'll try it. I'm not gonna like it, but at least it's not dying in your sleep. Let's see here. Yeah, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff like normies, like what I was. Oh yeah, so George R. R. Martin is like whoever like he's the pope of subversive fiction. Like there is nobody who I know of who can beat George R. R. Martin in a subversive fiction off. He's simply the best there is, which is a Homestuck reference. Not the George R. R. Martin bit. It's like you can't possibly hope to beat X in a Y off. He's simply the best there is. And it took somebody of Voxday's caliber carefully plotting it out, carefully creating it, creating a world and systems and stuff like that to, go toe to toe with him. And he succeeded. Um, and then, of course, he's mimicking Martin with the fact that he's so busy, except it's like the opposite problem. Martin's almost certainly just lazing around having a writer's block. Voxday's like doing all this crazy stuff. Anthony says, okay, so I have opinions. Um, Bar One Studio Scorpio says, well, impact plus staying power plus capturing the zeitgeist of release era. You're right. That's an absolutely accurate statement when it comes to anime. And the thing is that like you have to um, create value. You have to create sort of like a voice for what you're doing and what you're planning to do with videos. Um, just like George R. R. Martin had to have his subversive voice, or Vox Day had to have his meticulously crafted world. Um, so too I will have to have a meticulously crafted um, sort of series of philosophies. I'm basically going to read out the Superversive article that started it all, and hope to create something that gets stuff going for it. Coke and Cook says George Abercrombie is close to beating Martin. He just didn't have the right agent to sell his books to HBO yet. But it's not about HBO and stuff like that. It's about that worldwide appeal. That, like, I didn't. How do I want to say this? I saw, excuse me, Game of Thrones. Um, in the library, but because I am a science fiction kind of guy, I never thought about it. I never desired to read it. But then I saw Game of Thrones being played for HBO. They were prepping it up, and I bought it in a book resaler um, for like $10 less than what Borders would sell it for. I don't know who Joe Abercrombie is, though. Sadly, um, yeah, I'm gonna see where this stuff goes. It's an exciting thing. I've got all this stuff going on. I've got the new job promotion. I've got the various things that are coming my way, various things I have to do, and it's like, oh, I want to get Monday over with, just so that I can start getting back into the habit, not having my habit disturbed. The best part about it is honestly not having to wake up at 3 a.m. Yeah, which is pretty good. Um, Abercrombie is grimdark, but up to like 11. Who is this guy? I'm actually going to bring up TV tropes because that's actually a good sign of how popular somebody is. Joe Abercrombie. Abercrombie. Best served cold. Yeah, I think that's it. Low fantasy. First Law series. It's got a nice little rapier with some gold coins over a bloody map. Um, yeah. Eh, revenge plot. It's great. Mysterious stranger nurses somebody back to health and then murders somebody. Assemble the team together. Um, hmm, yeah, it's not too bad. Um, but you know, we'll see. I'm currently reading something for the Superversive Press slush file, and it's all right. It's not great. And there's some things I'm going to ask him not to change per se, but it's like, okay, we don't need a scene where she's eating a really juicy pear. She's being chased by demon dogs. There's a floating cuttlefish with a top hat. You're making it work. You can't break flow like that. And I'll actually talk about that sort of thing in a video sometime in the future. Um, it's just a matter of getting things together. Uh, Video game wise, I'm actually thinking of starting to stream video games on this channel. Uh, just a little bit, just on occasion. There's a scene where a character is eating a really juicy pear. Oof, yes, Cocaine Cook, yes. And it's not like it's weird because he's actually got a really good flow, but the separation was so bad, I just kind of stopped reading it because that was a good point to stop. And flow wise, because your flow is different from what's actually happening. You can break up, like, chapters are important because they break up stuff for the reader. Like, people have complained to me that my chapters are too short. I usually write no more than like a 5,000 word chapter. Like, that's a long chapter for me. I generally have a thought, a scene, a setting that I want to talk about within a chapter, and once I'm done, I'm done. You know, that's it. You know, uh, there's not much I can really do about that. I can try about like combining chapters together, but then the thought, the scene, and the setting will change so that the tone is so different, like in the middle, that it would actually create a natural break for the chapter in that spot. But that's not important in any sort of way. Um, I'm actually, thinking about streaming video games. I'm really enjoying Risk of Rain 2, and I just got Vermintide, which is absolutely fantastic. Um, it's like Left for Dead, except with Warhammer fantasy stuff. Kelkin Cook says, as someone who records audiobooks, short chapters are amazing. I also prefer it when I just read books too. Good evening, Wally Ram. I just saw you pop in as I was speaking. I hope the weather where you are is excellent. The Let's see here. What was I thinking about? Getting a little streaming going. Like I'm thinking like maybe 2-3 videos a week, and then the stream, and then maybe some video game streams in between. But the thing is, I don't want to lose track of what I'm trying to do with my um, Reading Rainbow Emperor channel and this channel. I need to combine them together, honestly. But like it's like I was building this. It's I'm up to 30 subscribers. It's really hard to build a channel in modern YouTube. It's that ultimate goal is to eventually get onto unauthorized, but that's probably a far way in coming. Um, and who knows? Like I know that occasionally someone brings legal challenges against him, against Fox and the things he does. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But that's okay. I'm sure things will go up. Willie Ram says a cool reprieve from the furnace of summer comes to full power, and that's basically what's happening in Missouri right now. It's like 70 something degrees, but it's going to be 90 within a month, within 2 weeks. I think it'll work out. Like Vermintide 2 is pretty great. I've always felt that the Warhammer fantasy universe is like more how do I want to say it? Heroic, superversive than the sci-fi universe, and it's weird. Um, I'm interested in what you think of To the Moon. I love it. Ken hates it. So who knows what you'll think? Kelkin Cook says I could sit through To the Moon if he plays the Dragon Cancer also. I don't want to play that Dragon Cancer. It's about watching a baby die of cancer. It's not something I find fun or experience. Wait, hold on. Is it that? That Dragon Cancer. Yeah, it's about this dying child that they're raising. And I don't care about that stuff. I look pretty much exactly like the protagonist. Or does the protagonist look like me? Mm-hmm. They're Christian. The problem is that I don't know. It's not something that interests me. It's all about a Christian parent struggle. It's super subversive, way more than To the Moon. I bet it is. I bet it is. The thing is that I have no desire for it. I can't. Like I can take a ton of sadness. The problem is that I just don't want it. Like video games are about the power fantasy to me. I want my wish fulfillment. I want to chainsaw the testes off of a Kako demon. Yes, I know that they're inside them. That makes it all the more painful. Or I want to play Minecraft and then build a giant cathedral, full of griffins and monsters and stuff like that I've crafted out of blocks. Um, it's just one of those things. Um, the kid dies like that. That's it. I don't know anything about To the Moon. Uh, yeah, just because it's a thing is superversive, that doesn't mean it's 2-1 Stacy. You're right. And the thing is, I don't like visual novels as much, and I get the feeling that that Dragon Cancer is just a much more developed um, visual novel. To the Moon is a visual novel. And like, here's the thing: like, Katawa Shoujo was a visual novel basically made for me and my tastes of sorts. And I'm sure that there's more. There's that weird cat one. There's Neko something. Break your Neko kneecaps, Oni-chan. Um, that goes on, and it's like, I can't be bothered. Like, I'd rather read it and read a description. Reading descriptions does a whole lot more for me than visual, by just 1,000 things. Um, let's see here. Something. Anthony says, I would agree that Cancer Game is more superversive by the virtue of its subject. To the Moon is probably superversive, but designed to make you think, not necessarily be convinced by it. But the thing is, I'm a man of strong opinions and convictions. As soon as I know of something, I usually have an opinion about it, and I'm willing to change an opinion. But it's one of those things. I'm just yeah. Um, yeah. Wooly Ram says 40K is anti-modern. It is a deconstruction of sci-fi. Fantasy is about heroism in the face of pitch black evil. Absolutely. If you want some grade A pulp and action, Devil May Cry 5 is 10 out of 10. And I could believe that. Honestly, I haven't played any of the Devil May Cry since um, the first one. On the PlayStation 2, I think it was. Maybe PlayStation 1, I don't know. Let's take a look in the library. Well, PlayStation 2. And it's pretty awesome. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Um, oh, I have an opinion, believe you me, Anthony. Thank you. Okay. Anyway. Uh, yeah, I like Vermintide. I'm liking Vermintide quite a bit. Uh, Heated to the Moon is the emotional experience, which is why the music is important. You see, even though I'm quite an emotional man, there's still a very powerful rational part. They're basically both super developed. It's very unpleasant. Um, like, I've had all kinds of horrible things happen to me that I've had no power over, that I just kind of had to be like, okay, but there's also that screaming madness part of me that just sort of would come out. And it's actually one of those things where I say that every year's been better than the year before, except for 2016 and 2011. Those were bad years. But it's one of those things that I just don't let my emotions control me. Like the emotional um, uh, depths of a John C. Wright novel mean so much more to me than the emotional depths of a video game. Bioshock Infinite was a video game that affected me emotionally. Um, and it's honestly deserving of its own video, Superversive wise, because even though the protagonist dies in the end, both sides are evil, and all he's trying to do is protect his daughter, and it's absolutely amazing. Um, it's just, I don't like being controlled by my emotions. And I know that some people don't think about it very much, or they allow themselves to be, or they say they aren't, but they are. But it's one of those things where, because I was forced to develop self control, that has also given me a very high pain tolerance. It's just, you know, I don't care. Katawa Shoujo, the only track that actually got me was the Hanukkah route, which is with the burn victim. Um, Not, Rin was interesting. The armless girl who paints with her feet, a brush and her toes. Um, was interesting, but it didn't come to anything I really cared about. The exercise girl who, was missing a leg, so she had two prosthetics, was all right. By the way, they combined those two up in the same dorm room. It was absolutely hilarious. But it doesn't have the same emotional core I desire. John C. Wright's Swan Knight Son hit me right in the heart, right in the heart. All of those, childish fantasies, you know, that I had wanted as a kid that just sort of came through, and it was amazing. It's why the first three books are absolutely so much better than the second trilogy, um, which in itself is a video I'm planning to do. Um, Anything from the weight of the villains to the character and personal motivations, to the fact that I'm not an Asian girl looking for her mad scientist fiance. Um, but it's not really emotional weight is neither superversive or subversive, except in how it's used. Um, and I think that with Vermintide, facing the ultimate darkness, has a certain power to it that I'm appreciating. It's these people who are bantering with each other, but it's like, oh yeah, and if we fail and they open the skitter gate, everything's going to go crazy. I almost missed this. Wally Ram says, I would like a analysis of Sekiro. It's very, and I mean very Japanese. I am actually planning to play that game when I have more time, and I'll probably stream it. Assuming I can. I'll probably start streaming Vermintide later on. Not tonight, but this is one of those things where I'm like trying to juggle a lot of balls and stay sane, and I don't want to just drop balls, without working things on it. But mm, it's not important quite yet. Uh, yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of video games that are far more superversive than they might let on. Um, it's pretty great. Like Warhammer's 40K Space Marine. Like in general, the stuff I read is of Warhammer 40K is just kind of, or it's kind of subversive. There's a lot of hero stuff like the Black Company, that sort of thing. But then there's Warhammer 40K Space Marine by THQ. Kelk and Cookass, Twitch or YouTube streaming. YouTube. I don't want to have to build like three different platforms at once. Um, Twitch, I could probably Twitch as well, but I don't know. They're talking about To the Moon and chat. I don't know any of these people. Warhammer 40K is absolutely amazing. The guy is so pure-hearted that he resists chaos control. It's absolutely amazing. Um, it's worth playing. Like I'm in the middle of a playthrough, and it's absolutely worth it. Just got past the train thing. You're not a Twitch thought, then I see. There's a great video of this guy making fun of thoughts. He's like, okay, guys, I'm not going to take off, I'm not going to lower my buttons unless somebody, does it. Oh, somebody's my new friend. Thank you. And then he starts like writing the name down on a board and humping the board. And it was the most manic thing I've seen in a while. And it was hilarious. I lost my crap laughing at that because it's very true, very true. There's also Bioshock Infinite. The there's also Bioshock Infinite and Bioshock One, Two as well. Bioshock Two more than one, I think. Cuphead. Um, if assuming you choose the good version, Metal Gear Solid Five actually. Um, I don't know where it was. It was on 4chan and it was a web M. So I don't know. Like it was some thin gamer dude. Games that are, but a lot of video games are very neutral. Enter the Gungeon, Risk of Rain 1 and 2, Super Flight, Luft Trousers. Um, you know, is very neutral, very neutral. Then there's things like Ronin, which flip depending on how you play it. Um, there's just a lot of interesting stuff that you can really sort of get into um, with video games, because it's like video games aren't just one um, one element. Like if you write a book, the only element there is the writing, and then it's your imagination. But then with a video game, there's the writing, then there's voice acting, music, visual design, visual metaphors, plotting, how you do your combat, or if there's even combat at all. There's the choices you have to make and the things that you have to do. And it's like, ooh. Um, Cocaine Cook says, all the Bioshocks are fantastic. I like 2 and 3 better, but that's my personal preference. I did too. Doom 2016, hell has nothing we want. Absolutely. Doom 2016, perfect, not perfect video game. I'm actually trying to get El Jaji Lamplighter to put the Doom Marine into her Rachel Griffin series. The Unexpected Enlightenment of Rachel Griffin. There we go. Just as the gardener, like he has a chainsaw, right? That's his famous chainsaw. So he's just yeah, 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 yeah. Then demons invade, and he's like, you know what? This feels right, and it's like, oh no. Uh, Delightful. I've been so apparently John De La Rose went to the game where the Blues, which are my homeboys team, stomped the Sharks, which is his homeboy team. Um, and it's like just wrecked the Sharks. My boys, according to what I know. But yeah. Ooh. This just in: Avengers Endgame passes Avatar as all-time domestic box office. Good job. Don't forget his bunny. I don't know that reference. I'm sorry. But right now, I'm gonna go taunt John De La Rose real quick. I've already taunted him a little bit, but it's one of those things. Um, I think I'll do an anime. I'll do a cute anime girl, because that's how it rolls. That's how I roll. Um, there it is. Um, Goody Avengers curbs on Avatar. That's reasonable. The final fight of Avatar made me angry. There's like, I dig it's an alien species and they're kind of tougher and bigger than humans, but those were still like minigun 50 cows. Like on with air support and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Like there was no reason for the Avatar blue skinned Dances with Wolves wannabes to win that fight. It just frustrated me, and it frustrates me to this day. Um, ah, original Doomarine is mourning the death of his rabbit by killing rabbits. Okay. I haven't played through the original Doom all the way. And that's, thanks to my Christian upbringing. But also, I just don't enjoy it as much. My video game that I enjoyed playing as a kid was Descent. Descent was an absolutely fantastic series of games. 1 through 3, just amazing. I loved the sniper Gauss cannon that you would get in 3. It's just fantastic. Um, Kelkin Cook says, I get that the Afghanis can hold off the commies and for some reason the US, but did they though? But the Navi against the race of humans that are totally cool with genocide? No, nah. So the Afghans, thing is about the Afghans versus the avatars. The Afghans had modern weapons. They had AK-47s and better. Um, they they had terrain advantages. The people weren't willing to genocide them. They were like the technology was equal to a point. What's more, Afghanistan is the graveyard of empires. Uh, Everyone from the Greeks to us are just losing people and money there forever. Um, it's just, and it's not like anyone wasn't warned. Well, let's see here. It's like, so the reason why I say we kind of won Afghanistan is that we did better than the commies, and in general, like they've come off the worst anytime there's an engagement. The problem is that we don't want to win the war, and we're not willing to do what it takes. So it's one of those things where it's like they'll win by default. Like it won't be one of those things where it's like they act like they legitimately beat the commies, like in battles and stuff like that. Like it was one of those things. Like the commies are all like if you would compare us to the commies, we would come off so much the better. It wouldn't even be a comparison. But it's like we're just gonna lose it like we lost Vietnam, and it's going to be worse for them. Like it's worse in Libya, like it's worse in Iraq, and it'll be worse in Iran. We won't lose to Iran. We won't beat Iran. We'll lose to it because I almost guarantee you that Russia and China are like front loading all the decent carrier killing missiles and all the anti stuff, all the anti-American supremacy stuff that they can on them. Like they know that if America picks a fight with Iran, that we'll lose. It's not even. It's going to be a bloodbath. Not because the Revolutionary Guard's any better than us. It's just that they know how to counter us. They'll put scissors to our paper against what we usually fight is rock. um, and it's the counters more than anything else. Not so much the actual quality of the troops, though. I would like to see, like apparently 34 African American women have graduated from West Point, the most they've ever had. Let's just have them lead soldiers against them. They'll either be shot by their own side snipers, I mean, or they'll die horribly and be enslaved by the Muslims, um, who have enslaved their own women and will have even less of a compunction to do it to them. Uh, Only to an extent, China and Russia don't want an ascendant Persia, so they will supply outdated weapons. I don't know. Like, it depends. Do they want America to bleed itself to death and suffer a humiliating defeat that might splinter our nation in the long run? Or do they want to delay an ascendant Persia? Persia will ascend, it's what it does. Um, if we look at history, uh, Persia was in ascendance under the Shah until things started going down thanks to the CIA. Oh. Um, and then they wasted a whole generation of bloodshed with the Iran-Iraq War, which went through 9 years. Um, and so, like, an ascendant Persia isn't the worst thing for them, just because it happens. Um, and honestly, like, it depends on how they view us. Like, I can see what you're saying. I just don't agree with it. Like, if it happens, I am willing to say that I was wrong, and it is a legitimate option that could happen. There we go. That's the way I want to say it. It's perfectly legitimate, and I'm probably wrong. I just think they value a defeated U.S. over an ascendant Persia, and as Persia will, because I believe that Persia will ascend anyway. There we go. Like if we look at it historically, It rises and falls like the tide. It's almost rising like Rome rose once, um, and then it was there, and it was there for 1,000 plus years, thousands and thousands of years. But it hasn't rose again, and there aren't really good rise and fall examples for Rome. There's periods of not in decline and better than normal, but then it's still in decline. Like Marcus Aurelius was not the same sort of Caesar as any of the Claudians. Sorry, not Claudians. As any of the no, is it Claudians? I can't remember what they're Julians. No, point Julius Caesar's family. Point is, Kelkin Cook says it kind of rose again during medieval times. I disagree. I think that Italy and Rome, like the Pope had power that was directly tied to his religious authority as quasi emperor, but he willingly gave it up to Germany to flex on the Byzantines. You saw that meme I posted in the Discord chat. Julians, thank you. Um, And the thing is that oftentimes, if the Holy Roman Emperor didn't like what the Pope was doing, he kidnapped him, or he had him murdered, or he just stopped paying taxes until they sorted their crap out. Like it's not. It's one of those things. It's like yes, they were power players, but at no point were they even a tenth of what Rome in decline was. They weren't even as powerful um, as a Flabagabus's Roman Empire, and that dude was weird and bad. Um, True, the HRE was full of the good times. Oh, good old times was the good old times. Oh, absolutely. Um, the patriarch goes, "Hey, you can't, the Byzantine emperor goes, you can't name that the German king, Holy Roman Empire. You can't, make the German king Holy Roman Empire." You can't see it, but I'm flapping my arms. But Persia rises and falls. Like it went from, um, it had some empires, not empire stuff, but it's sort of like grew in conjunction with everything. They overthrew the Chaldeans, and they became the oh my goodness, I'm not remembering the whole thing. It was the Persian Empire that lasted until Alexander kicked the ever loving daylights out of it. And it had rise and falling times, and it pulled itself together. I almost feel sorry for Darius 13 or whatever his name was. Then it was in decline. Then it was in ascendance again with the Seleucid Empire. Then it was in decline. Then it was the Parthians. Then it was the people out of the who came after the Parthians. I can't remember the names offhand. Then it was Khusrau and his empire. Sassanids. That feels right. Sassanids feels right. Then it went down for a bit. Then it was the Caliphate after a while, and the Golden Age of Islam was around ancient Persian territories and Baghdad and all that jazz. Then it went down again. Then it was Tamerlane. Then it was there was a Persian empire somewhere in between there that basically held off the Russians. Um, but then it was in decline again during the World Wars. Then it was back up with the Shah. Then it was down. Then it's back up again. Like it's one of those things where it's like it's always going to exist. It's just a matter of how much you control it. It's all about access to the Indian Sea and the Suez Canal since manufacturing is done in Asia. Yep, which I blame previous presidents for because we could do it all ourselves. But this isn't about video games. Though I tried playing Europa Universalis. It was so boring. Um, I couldn't stand it. It also didn't run very well on my computer. And I had a dedicated gaming laptop too. So it was like, I don't know why you're not working. But what I did play, I didn't enjoy. Um, See, the thing is, though, like when it comes to manufacturing, free trade goes the other way too. Like you pinch off free trade, it brings back industry. And like they just opened up a new steel mill next to St. Louis. Like industry is coming back, and they pay like ridiculous amounts. King Cook says, "I think you'd like Stellaris as a galactic genocide simulator." Look, I don't just promote genocide. I promote xenocide. It's not about the genetics. It's about how close they are in relation to humans. And let's be real. Having blue skin, but otherwise human features doesn't mean you're a human. It's like that old whether or not Irish people are white. I think that's a pretty good debate. Just leave that out there, just like a dead fish. A laptop is not a computer; it's a computer-like product. It serves the same sort of thing. It serves enough. Trust me, you can annihilate the Xenos. There are only Xenos worth annihilating. Ooh, I actually have a sci-fi space opera thing. I've read Richard Fox's Ember Wars, not the series, the Armored Core series, which is really amazing. I'm actually trying to do a bunch of fantasy novels, and then I'm going to talk about um, uh, gingers are not human. Gingers are not human. We're better. That's right, and that's why we need to take them out before they take us out. Um, the ginger does not feel anything. Does not, feel emotion. It is only cruelty. Ginger would suck the soul out of his own mother for so on and so forth. Um, where it's like, but the aliens treat the humans who defeated the Zaros with such contempt, and it's like I dig it that some of these guys are just a holes, but it goes too far. Like nobody's there with a reasonable mind saying the humans defeated the enemy that was wiping out the galaxy and making it in their own image. We can cut them some slack. Well, they could rise to ascendance. You mean the humans who show mercy to their enemies and, whose values, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I just want to write a space opera story where it's like humans show up, they get some disrespect, then they start kicking in people's teeth who disrespected them specifically. Like, like there's this giant fleet battle, and the humans unveiled these mega ships that are like defensive to the core, and just start smashing their way through the aliens' line. It's like, oh, that's how they defeated the galaxy devastating aliens. Um, is there an exemption for cat girls? Yes, but it's like, marrying an android. You can do it. You're not going to produce children. It's just genetics weeding themselves out of the population. Um, I actually read some really sad robo life sort of thing recently. It was like, the thoughts rose up against the robo wives because the robo wives actually held them to standard. And it's like I just kind of want to write that. I just want to write the opposite end of it, where it's like, look, we've been oppressed for like 100 years. Screw you guys. We're wiping, anyone who looks at us funny out, and preserving our allies, so on and so forth. Are you a fan of the HFY trope? I do not know offhand what the HFY trope is. See what TV trope says. Humanity is superior? I don't think that is. Humanity. Let's see. Humans. Maybe. Oh, humanity. Fuck yeah. Humanity gonna give it to you. No, I'm not really like that. I'm a very strict aggression by other people aggressing on me first, assuming like it depends. Like on the personal sense, I don't give people the bad opinion until they give me a reason to believe that they have a bad opinion of me. Um, and it's one of those things. Like it's good in the sense of personal, but nations, I understand it's different. Uh, Apex predators from a high gravity death world. It's like, yes, and the people who oppressed us in the sci-fi world for 100 years, were like our equals, and that's why it took so long. Like it was like one of those things where it's like, you know, equal in every way, but they have slightly better technology, and it's like, oh, you know, and it's one of those things. Like eventually, if so many alien races are villainous or refuse to play nice with other races, it doesn't work out as well as it should. And sometimes there's secrets that are revealed that shouldn't be revealed in that universe that I just I just don't care. Like it's like, like there's so much richness that you could pull out from this idea that it's never going to end. And I'm more than willing to examine it. And I honestly, I should probably play Stellaris sometime, just to get the feel of it, see what's going on with it. Uh, you know, wander around sometime. But there are other games I want to play for more. Just because it's about the power fantasy more than anything else. And yeah, and I'll see what I can do about streaming on this thing. I'm definitely going to start streaming and writing sometime soon. Uh, Quite frankly, like the job thing was jumped on me Friday, so I haven't adjusted yet, and I won't adjust until I'm done with it. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for joining with me today. I'm going to cut it off here. We've been going for an hour and a half. And I need to do a little reading, little paperwork, unrelated to anything else. Um, and then do some critique stuff and all that jazz. And I don't want to miss it. Falcon Cook says Stellaris has a high difficulty curve, but is it as high a difficulty curve as other ones? I don't think so. Um, but once you start the crusade against the Xenos and the heretics, you don't stop until mankind's borders stretch to the whole galaxy, which is actually what I would do. Wooly Ram says, "Oh, this reminds me. Have a look at Vambrace Darkest Dungeon with waifus." I'll put it in, see if it shows up anywhere. And good night, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and you're all wonderful to me. Check out the links I have below, and you'll see me next week about the same time, all things going well. Goodbye.